Hi, everyone.
Hey,
Thanks for joining us today.
hey there. Looks like we've got a couple of people on already. So the official start time is at 15 minutes after the hour, but this is Liquidware Unplugged. So you'll see us warming up, talking about whatever we want to talk about, and then we'll make a few more formal introductions as we go along. But we're glad to have you here today.
Well, Jason, you said unplugged, so I have my acoustic guitars ready to go. They're unplugged.
You did. You went right to the studio, didn't you? You got a soundboard over there and everything.
Oh, yeah. This is my man cave.
That's nice.
I actually
You
started.
ready for your 10-minute drum solo?
Yeah, sure. I actually started in the music industry before IT. I grew up trained as like a musician, guitarist, composition. I was an audio engineer. And then in the 90s, early 90s, I got an opportunity to go into IT, and I had a baby, and it was like a lifestyle thing. And it was the weirdest thing. But all that experience with music training and music technology, IT was just absolutely natural. It was like I'd always done it. And if you guys know Carl Webster in the industry, he's also a musician,
Right.
and he wants to do a session on one of the upcoming webinars on the relationship between music and technology, because there's a lot of people in tech who are musicians. It's a funny brain thing.
Well, that sounds fun. And Carl's in Nashville, right? Or that
Yeah.
area.
Outside of Nashville. Yeah.
I was watching Dave Ramsey the other night on YouTube, and Carl was on there.
That's right.
I was like, what does he
Yeah.
go by? He went by Webster on there, which a lot of us know him by Webster too. I was like, I know that guy, because I watch Dave Ramsey sometimes. It's just,
Well, I knew him for a long time before I realized Webster was his last name. I
yeah.
just thought it was,
Oh, yeah, is it right?
or it was a handle, like that's my handle. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not his last name.
That's neat. You're coming to us from Arizona, right?
That's right. And by the way, we had that Starlink discussion in prep for this. So I've got a hotspot ready to go. If I have issues, if I drop or otherwise, I'll jump on the hotspot. Right now I'm wired. Hopefully that theoretically is better, but
Wired, but still via Starlink.
yeah, exactly.
Josh, where are you dialing in from?
Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, nice. I used to get up there a good bit in Mississauga. I had a client up there back when I was independent marketing.
Yeah, that's actually where I live, Mississauga, just west of the city proper.
Yeah, yeah. A little bit further west is the home of Sour Patch Kids too, isn't it? That candy. I think there's a warehouse out there I remember passing by, and it's a favorite candy of mine, and I believe it's based out that way.
I did
So it
not
looks
know.
like, yeah. We were headed to Niagara Falls that day, and I somehow remember that. I was like, can't we stop there at the factory and not load up? See, it sounds like I was doing a lot of work, doesn't it? Other people joining, which is good. So we're in the warm-up session portion, and we welcome you joining us live, and we're Liquidware Unplugged. So we'll get a little more formal about today's topic of desktop transformations in a bit, but we're just making small talk. Steve, how long have you had this, the Elon Musk Starlink solution?
Oh, it's probably been a solid year now. It was one of those things, everything that Elon Musk does, you have to sign up for and wait online. And I thought, well, this sounds interesting. I'll just put in my, application, not thinking it would come, because a lot of people were saying they couldn't get it. But a few months later, it just said it's ready to go. So I grabbed it. My current internet, or the one before that, wasn't very good. And I thought I'd just give it a shot. And it's basically been good. I mean, what they're doing is unbelievable, because they're satellites are going by in orbit, and then you're communicating with them, and they're handing off to each other and relaying. So you figure, oh, it's got to be massive latency, but it's not. It's tens of milliseconds. And the strange thing is, latency is not really the issue, and nor is bandwidth. I can get 100 plus meg down, 40, 50 up. It varies quite a bit. But the one challenge that does exist is you get sort of little dropouts. It probably has to do with how many satellites and whatever's happening in the particular conditions. And we saw that yesterday. We were prepping for this call, and I got dropped a couple times. That's not that common, but that is the the problem with it or the downside. As they up the satellite numbers, I think you'll see that go away. But as we were talking about yesterday, 40 of them blew up yesterday.
That
Now,
can't be
some of
cheap.
the news reports, because you guys clued me to it, some of the news reports were saying was because they didn't check the space weather report. I don't know if that's fair or accurate, but I guess there was a solar rejection, and it's being suggested that, they should have known better, but I don't want
It's
to
easy
blame
to
them.
say that after the fact, isn't it? When they're doing something new like they're doing. Those are like, I haven't really studied up too much on it, but it's like low Earth orbit or something, which helps with the latency, I think, right? Because they don't have to go through the ionosphere and just the distance, pure.
Yeah, because you can see them. You can see them fly by at times. So it's
Can you?
definitely low, but it's still far away. So I don't know how much latency that by its distance incurs. They're also doing something with the relays. They said originally it was laser, so I thought, oh, okay, optical makes sense. Maybe they're getting faster, but I don't know. I think the laser is just the relay between them. But they also get it quickly down back to Earth and back up somehow.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
yeah. Makes me think
Jason,
of
you said
Austin Powers.
that can't be cheap. The article I read, was talking about, well, 40 satellites, how much are they? And they kind of diminished it a little bit. And they said, well, there was earlier reports that they said that each satellite was under $1 million. So, but still.
Yeah, 40 million here.
$40 million.
I put something out on today's webinar on LinkedIn if y'all want to plug it while we're sitting here, or retweet it. It came out of the Liquidware handle. It was
Yeah,
the last
notification and I joined. Let me get in there and comment on it.
I called you out too. I don't think I'm connected to Josh yet, but I did reference your username, Steve. So,
Oh, cool. Oh, this is great. Thanks. I'm going to go ahead and reshare it.
yeah, I'd mentioned yesterday, I tried this mesh Wi-Fi, but I've had such good luck with my ASUS system, which is just a nice router. Actually, I didn't pay for that router. T-Mobile is like, they had this deal a few years ago. If you complained about your reception, they'd send you a free router. It was a really nice ASUS router that was partially firmware branded T-Mobile. So I was like, yeah, I'll take free. And I've actually used that thing over 5 years probably. But there's newer tech out, so I should be able to get better bandwidth and so what. So I thought I would try something else, and I was going to move to a mesh system, and this is what I was mentioning. It's a TP-Link that I got a fairly good deal on. It was a 2-unit deal, but
okay, I cannot go and not mention that you held it up and said TP-Link, but it looks like toilet paper.
it does, doesn't it? In the pandemic, I could have sold this for probably more than it's worth.
It's even worth more than a router.
Yep.
Well, this is great, guys. I appreciate the time to kind of warm up and chill out and talk as people are coming on. That's really a fun idea.
Got a few. The advertised start time is 15 minutes after the hour, but we've got a few people in. You can get to hear our either exciting or boring stories, depending on their interest. Kristen, you were in Las Vegas earlier this week, weren't you?
I was in Las Vegas earlier this week, yes. It was a very fun work family trip, I guess you could say. My aunt and uncle, they renewed their vows, so it involved Elvis and a party bus, and it was a lot of fun.
That sounds fun. What can go wrong with that? I mean, as far as having fun.
Yep, there was a DJ on the bus and a bartender, and it was a pretty wild group. And I was probably the youngest one by like 20 years, and they definitely had years of experience on me. It was a lot of fun.
Were the how was the tourist traffic looking there? I mean, is things picking up?
Yeah, they were picking up actually. We were in the downtown area, so not. We did go on this trip too. Actually, they took us all to Hell's Kitchen afterwards, which is Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. So there was 25 of us that ate lunch right in front of the kitchen, and
nice.
Brent wasn't there, but the food was amazing and the place was packed. Yeah,
That's at Caesars, isn't it? I think I've been there when I went to DEF CON at
it
Hell's
is. It's
Kitchen.
right by Caesars. Yep.
And then you also
I
have,
did the
right, like Hell and Heaven or something. There's, or Fire, and aren't there two kitchens in that restaurant? They make two
Yeah,
different
there's
menus.
the red and the blue kitchen, and I think they compete against each other. Yeah, I've got some good photos in the background. Some selfies.
nice. Well,
That
there's a
sounds fun.
companion bar facing type restaurant that he owns too. If you can't get into one, you can get into the other. So I got the second tier experience. But the menu's supposedly similar, and it's in the same similar area over there in that Caesar shopping mall. Julia and I did that during the hymn show, which we went with IJL. It was great. It was a great food. I don't know if my experience was similar enough to yours, but we couldn't get into that one, so that was the fallback. It was
The
still
other
good.
one, the burger bar, isn't it a burger place? The secondary one? I know I went to a Ramsey burger one too.
I think that's a newer one that I remember
Yeah,
seeing.
maybe
Yeah, you started a
possibly.
burger
There's
joint
another.
or
There's a
something
third
like
one
that.
too. Yeah.
The third one, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we had beef Wellington was on the menu. That was like one of his signature dishes. It was pretty fantastic. And like toffee bread pudding for dessert. It was excellent. Yeah.
Well, people joining us might think that we started the webinar too soon or something, but this is Liquidware Unplugged. So we talk about what we want to until 15 minutes after the hour. And we're getting
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
And the
Vegas
numbers are
was
going up.
right, in terms of crowds and activity.
We have 11 people attending right now. Got 11. We've got a little bit more time for more people to join.
And growing. We had dozens RSVP, so our register, so that number should go up.
And this isn't a big mass appeal event, though. This is a little bit more intimate behind the stage, chance for people to interact. What I love about this format is that you can, interact and be part of the thing. Real quick, why don't maybe we kick this off and just do a little bit of introductions. I'm Ray Swanson. I'm one of the directors of marketing here at Liquidware, and I'm kind of here just to kind of be one of the people behind the curtain, but I can kind of jump in briefly here. The thing is to interact. If you've got questions for our panelists as they talk, address them and go from there. But why don't we go around the room and do some introductions?
That's a great idea, Ray. Steve, you want to go next? On my screen, it looks like you probably joined second or something, so let's go in that
Sure.
order.
Hi, I'm Steve Greenberg. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. My company is Thin Client Computing. Been working in what we call today EUC computing from pretty much the beginning. Expert in Citrix and other technologies. And real interested in the topic today as so many of our clients are contemplating cloud, going to cloud, resisting cloud. I've got everything from how quickly can we get there to you'll pry this out of my dead cold hands before it goes to the cloud. Literally, that was a customer quote. So I think this will be a super interesting discussion, especially to hear what you guys see out there.
Josh, thanks, Steve. It's a pleasure to have you, though. You're also a CTP, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah, I think I'm wearing a CTP shirt today. I have a wardrobe of tech
That's
shirts.
awesome.
I'm
And
actually
believe it or not, some of our audience might know.
and a couple other guys are CTP fellows, which means that we've been providing, high-level engineering advice and feedback to the community in Citrix for an extended period.
Yeah,
It also
you saw
means
where
we're
I'm going with that. Some of our audience might not know what a CTP is. We take it for granted sometimes if we've been in the industry maybe way too long, but like us. Yeah, I guess some of the best community members that I can think of are really CTPs. And there's another level there too that they designated, not CTP, but what's the next? There's another community program from them similar. Citrix
right.
did.
So there's CTP and then there's CTA.
Yes.
And there's some fantastic people in there as well. And sometimes they go from CTA to CTP. But it's basically like we all are, these enthusiasts who really love what they do and they get involved and they go above and beyond. They don't just show up for work. They research stuff, write blogs, share information, join or run user groups, that kind of thing. And when you're really obsessed and they're trying to help you mentally health, you do something like CTP and you spend a lot of time. The meetings occur all year long and you have projects and things that you take on that could be anything from researching something and sharing it, to working with product managers. Oftentimes not even just like a meeting, but you might work with the project manager for 6 or 12 months on the life cycle of something and test it and help them and give it feedback. And as you guys all know, that makes a huge difference in the quality of product when the people who need to understand it and use it are given that feedback. So it's really fun.
You also do a summit out there though that you're in charge of. Could you tell us a little bit about that? It's become quite popular in the community.
Yeah, sure. It's called the Euc Masters Retreat. It's taking place in April in Scottsdale. And the idea is, I've gone to conferences for so many years, and I've spoken and attended. I've seen every side of it. I've even helped plan some of the big corporate ones. And I wanted to create the conference that I wanted to go to. You get older and just like, why don't I just make the conference I want to go to? And it's based on what's called open space meeting technology. There is no pre-agenda. We just invite the whole community, all levels. And the reason for the masters is just to convey that, the best people in the world will be there and you can collaborate with them. And then we form the agenda using this methodology on site at the time. And I got to tell you, it sounds wacky, but we've had the best experiences you can imagine, because it opens it up and it goes in places that nobody who is planning a program or trying to contemplate what should we cover would know. And I have to even say, people say it's like life-changing, some of the things that happen.
And how do you get a ticket to that?
Just go to our website, thinclient.net. It's really, really down and dirty. There's an event pop-up. Just read through it, just sign up.
But it's encouraged to be technical people, right? I mean, marketing people like myself usually don't darken the doors too often.
It's not that specific. Like you might come and like it because you're hearing the viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
You also can see, everyone's equal at this event. Is this okay to talk more? I don't want to.
Yeah. We'll keep with the introductions. We're unplugged.
Okay.
We can do a little.
All right, good. So whether you're an organizer like us, an attendee, a sponsor, an enthusiast, a master, a vendor, none of that matters. Everybody just interacts as one group. We don't even have like booths or an expo. It's really just learning from the people that have something to offer. And sessions are, we talk about what should we cover and who's there. Now, I'm very careful to invite some key people that, they could speak all weekend and cover it. But also people end up giving sessions because they say, hey, I'm working on this. You guys are asking about this area. I've been doing this in my lab. Would you like to see it? And 10 people go, yeah, of course. All right, let's give you 2 o'clock on Saturday in this room. We've also had many spontaneous sessions that I only found out about afterwards. So for example, we were talking about Carl Webster, and I found out after it happened that enough people wanted to learn about Active Directory that he just held a session in the lobby around a meeting table. And it's
wow.
a session.
Wow.
There also
That's like unplugged, right? I like that.
That's why I love you guys. When you invited me to this, I'm like, I found my tribe. The other one was we just put whiteboards and pads around and monitors. And there was a session that happened where an attendee was coming to kind of learn. He wanted to up his skill and he had questions about his own environment and what he should do. And we started talking. And so Joe Schonk goes, well, let's just go to the whiteboard. And then I came over, and then Carl Webster and other people. So we had like 5 or 6 CTPs gathered around this guy on a whiteboard, going like, okay, man, this is how it works. This is what we do. I know the documentation tells you to configure it this way, but don't do that, do this. And the guy just had like a priceless education,
Yeah.
by showing up. So that's the kind of stuff that happens.
It sounds awesome, and we've sent some reps there from our technical team before, and they got a lot out of it, I know. So it's interesting to hear firsthand about that conference that you put together. Sounds like definitely organized chaos, but
well, it is. And also Liquidware. I don't know if people know this, but Liquidware is a lot of fun. Like the people at Liquidware are really fun, as you can tell from this format. So we got our team, our reps coming out for the event. We already did one with them in December. And just stop me if this isn't the thing, but if you're this unplugged, I'll tell you some great stories. we did right when COVID, it seemed like we had like COVID was good. We were going to be able to do something in person. We just grabbed that little window right before Omicron, and we did a horseback riding event with the Liquidware team. And we had customers come out, and we're in Arizona up here, and not far from here is the true Western desert cowboys and all that. And we took a bunch of people out horseback riding and had a cookout in the desert. And that team is just a blast, those guys.
Oh, good. I'm glad they behaved themselves too. It sounds like there's no bad.
I didn't say they behaved themselves, but
Josh Travers, we're so pleased to have you. Remo3 is a new alliance partner of Liquidware, and Josh not only has deep experience there, I'm going to steal a little bit of his thunder because he's a phenomenal panelist I'm excited to have here. He also was a Citrite as well and worked for Citrix, right?
That's correct. Yep. I had a couple different roles at Citrix. I initially came in with the AppDNA acquisition, so I was looking at application risk mitigation, assessment, analysis, etc. But then gradually moved over to the NetScaler team, again with a strong focus on application delivery and performance and things like that. But yeah, I spent some time there. It was great.
Let's go. Tell us a little bit about Remo3 and where your team is in the industry.
Sure. So I lead up the customer success group at Remo3, and really for those that aren't familiar with Remo3, we're focused on unattended intelligent analysis of applications. So to oversimplify, automated testing of applications. Now, that can be many things to many different people, but we're taking a very innovative, dynamic approach to something that's been traditional and static before, where we're essentially analyzing 100% automated actual customers' applications, meaning after they've been packaged, against their operating environments. Now, naturally, that could be a cloud-based workspace, it could be a desktop-based workspace. It doesn't really matter. That's their environment, and the platform itself is fit to purpose to be able to support that ever-changing workspace landscape. So really, what we're delivering to our customer base and our partner networks at the end of the day is really just informative behavioral insights that are living, breathing around their entire application portfolios, so that when change does come, which we all know that it does, or migrations get planned, they can act quickly and very efficiently.
That's great. And so it sounds like there's a big need for Remo3 if you're doing a desktop transformation or workspace transformation just for planning, but it's a never-ending cycle, right, for updates of applications. So it's something that you need to keep in place because it's challenges you face every week that Remo3 can help with, right?
Absolutely. It's common occurrence. We'll get engaged through our partner networks or our end customers, and we'll be talking about a digital transformation, a migration to Azure Virtual Desktop or some sort of cloud platform. But all conversations tend to loop back to that, what I'll call day-to-day operational change management, right? There's current applications in production today, thousands of users where, you can't compromise their experience for their application. So, something like Remo3 and with the automation allows you to plan or assess that change for tomorrow, but still maintain that support for the change of today, right? The patch Tuesdays, the security updates. The contextual domain changes, things like that could potentially impact or generate risk within anyone's environment.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you on the panel. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
A little bit about Liquidware, if you don't know who Liquidware is. So I'm Jason E. Smith. I use that E because a close friend of mine last night said, I had a friend. I was telling a story. I had a friend named Jason Smith in college, and he goes, we all did. We all had a friend named Jason. So if you wonder why I use the E, that's why, just to set me apart a hair from other people's. But I've been with Liquidware since 2009, which was the first year of Liquidware. We were set up to be, the desktop transformation organization, and we really called ourselves the on-ramp for VDI in that first couple of years. But as we grew, more and more of our customers started using this on every single Windows desktop, because a lot of consolidation in years later happened with some of our competition out there, whether it was user environment management or application layering or it was monitoring. And sooner or later, Citrix had basic tools in there, and I would say basic, right? But they have some good tools, basic, in their stack, where we go beyond those. And VMware also in a similar way. And we have been alliance partners with them over the years too. But eventually they acquired some things that do arguably compete with us a little bit. Compete with us, we don't compete with them because they're really selling Horizon and they're selling Workspace ONE over at VMware, and Citrix is selling Citrix virtual apps and desktops. That's their bread and butter. And it's up to us to tell our customer base and prospects how we go above and beyond. So we run a layer above that for all your Windows desktops, and we know the user experience, the digital user experience through our Stratosphere solution. We control the user environment management for any Windows desktop that those users log on to. And thirdly, we have our application layering solution, FlexApp, that will also work across any Windows desktop. Now we have a variation of that called FlexApp One. You can even take that little self-contained package offline, or you can use Endpoint Manager and you can apply that to desktops. And it's very dynamic the way you do that. And when you run at this higher level above your Citrix stack or your VMware stack or Amazon stack and so on and so on, we're compatible with all those. You are extrapolating user environment management and digital experience from the stack itself, and it makes you much more agile. So in the face of a pandemic, a lot of our customers scaled up with cloud desktops or workspaces for a period of time. They scaled back down and they had us in place so they could literally add to their Citrix licenses or whatever and ask their users to log on at a moment's notice from home, from a laptop, and still have an official corporate desktop and still get their user environment coming in, their applications coming in without repackaging, mind you. And then we knew the digital experience between the two. Is it at least as good as it was when they were in the office? And that's just one use case, but and now I get to today's subject more in the face of it. It's also migrations, or avoiding downtime of migrations, because when you're managing these users at a different level, and likewise with Remo 3, when you know this information about your applications at a higher level across stacks, you know whether or not they're compatible, and your user environment can flow through, and you have seamless operations. You can even get down to a zero downtime cutover to a new way of delivering a workspace. So that's Liquidware in a nutshell. I am head of product marketing management and also alliances, which came under me fully in the last year. So our Microsoft, our Remo 3, our iGel relationships, our Amazon, Nutanix, all that falls in my responsibility over here, and we're equal partners with a lot of them, and with the desktop platforms, even more important, lead partners in that. So let me restate today's, and I've kind of said it, but let me restate today's focus of the Unplugged session. And this is Unplugged. That's why you hear us being a little more informal. We want audience participation. So go over there and find the place where you can enter a question right now or a comment, and please participate with us. If you want to, we'll even take you off mute. You can ask your question live, and we'd love to hear your voice. That is the nature of Unplugged. So we've got industry experts from Thin Computing with Steve on, with Josh Travers from Remo 3, and myself, and we'd be glad to answer those questions about, if you're thinking about Windows 11 transformations coming up. A lot of organizations, we think, later this year, they'll really start moving that direction. Or even if it's a newer version of Windows 10, that's free game to talk about. If you're kicking the tires of Microsoft AVD, or you're looking at Windows 365, we'd be glad to talk to you about that as well. Or if you're thinking about lifting and shifting to one type of Windows delivery method to another, we can also answer any of your questions along those lines. So that's the topic.
Can I jump in real quick? I just want to emphasize that we encourage people to speak up. Literally, just say you want to talk and get on the audio. That's fine. But there's a theme in what you were both saying. I just want to comment, and I got excited by, because I'm like, people talk about cloud computing and all these different kinds of computing. I like to think of what I do as like grounded computing, because I've got to things have to work. I'm working with many different clients every day, from critical hospitals, manufacturing, finance, every kind of workload, food production, 24/7. So it always has to work. And what I like about both of what you were saying in your introduction was you're setting things up so that you can handle change. And I think that's really a key thing right now, because we have people, as I said quickly in the introduction, I have everybody from move my entire infrastructure to cloud as soon as possible to, and it's a quote, I love to say it, so I'm going to say it again, is that we'll go to cloud when you pry the servers out of my dead cold hands, right? So what I need to be able to do is to tell people, like, don't worry, no one's pushing you. We just have to get you situated right. And the things that help you migrate, even if you're just staying on-prem from different OSs, are the same thing that allow you to like go to cloud and come back. Or the great example that got me excited, Jason, was when you talked about when COVID hit, people had to ramp up real quick. So they brought up cloud desktops, but maybe that's not how they want to run long-term for whatever reason. When you have the tools like Profile Unity, you're not going to lose that personalization. You're not going to lose that setup. You've quantified it, and now you can apply it where you want it. So it isn't always just cloud, 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 cloud. You got to go to the cloud. It could be you're migrating data centers. It could be you're trying to get to Windows 11. It could be you want to go to AVD, or maybe it could be an acquisition where you want to put one company up on the cloud but keep your on-premises. That's a very real world thing that we see.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I just like about what you both said is it's not like forcing somebody into a mode. It's saying, hey, there's tools that allow you to change and shift. I get excited about that because I'm a nerd.
I wrote a blog, you know, all these pontifications about the new year and stuff like that. But I wrote about the future of Windows is heterogeneous. I think it was about 2012. And that blog could have gone forward every year because we've become more and more heterogeneous in the way that Windows is delivered. A laptop, a Citrix session, and now an AVD session. You know, and you throw in there also very well known other ways of delivering. Horizon, Nutanix has a solution. Windows 365 has come online, and this is the future. So you need ties that bind and make those areas in times of friction when you're lifting and shifting or scaling up here or there. You need to smooth those out. And that's some of the things we're talking about today as you're planning. And, you know, we can take any of the marketing out of it and even take the products out of it and tell you the things you ought to be looking at too. You know, things that make for a successful flip to a new way of delivering. It is inventory what you got, because you can't go to where you're going without knowing what you've got. Even if you are thinking about shifting everything to something, you know, I would say extreme, all cloud, you've still got to know what hardware you have in place, how you're going to get the users to the cloud. So it's quick inventory and how they're using those machines. So you need to plan what applications are in use, and you need to see where users have been storing their data. I can't tell you how many organizations we get into that are name brand that should have business continuity in mind, where users are still storing things they create in My Documents on an individual hard drive. Have you seen this, Steve, in your clients? And you continue to be shocked and like, what are you doing? Nope. We're running backup every single night or something like that. They're running file by file or image-based backup in case something happens. Like, get you in a best practices state of being, and that is Microsoft recommends redirect certain files and shell folders. Take an inventory of the applications in use, because now is a great time to say, I have no idea if the 100 applications this user has access to, if they're using 4 of them or 99 of them. And there's licenses that we're paying for we have no idea about. So we can know applications installed versus in use. Those are the ones they're going to need in that new environment. Remo 3 can come in with that list, right? And Remo 3 can look at my application list. Now, what do you want to do with them in the new environment you're going to at that point in time, right?
Yeah, so there's an additional step there. So the inventory, I agree 100%, right? Getting your arms around, okay, what's there in the environment and specifically in the applications, but also having some sort of informative insights into those applications is important, because a lot of the times it's, for lack of a better term, analysis paralysis, right? So you get an influx of data, but if it doesn't make sense or it's not correlated to a certain initiative or at least a path forward, it tends to be overwhelming. And that process stalls out a little bit. So, you know, not only the inventory data, but, you know, scrubbing that down, so to speak, to make sense of that inventory data is very important in those initial first steps. As
now, do you make recommendations on how they can be delivered? Can they be layered? Can they be virtualized? Do they need to be isolated? Do they need to be in the base image, or do you make recommendations like that?
Yeah, no, great question. And that goes to that innovative dynamic approach I was speaking towards. As we all know, when it comes to applications, all different shapes and sizes. We, you know, compare them a lot to fingerprints, because it doesn't matter if it's a COTS application from, you know, a third-party ISV or an internally developed application, they're all different. The key there is the contextual relevance. So what is different about that environment? So we're analyzing actually in real time every single application against what their deployment model would be. So it's an a la carte if you will, to kind of bring in an analogy there, where it's not fixed, right? So those decisions, should they change or what those initiatives are, we can determine those outputs as it relates to, you know, those different deployment models or application package format preference.
It's all about being ready and being prepared. Kristen, I wanted to see if there's anything we're missing there from questions or input from the audience, because we love the questions, the input, any comments from the audience.
Yes, I did get one. Let's see. What's the most common mistake you see people making when doing a cloud or OS migration?
Steve, you're
I'll
on the
jump
front
in.
lines.
The first one, it's kind of independent of whether it's cloud or not, just OS, is that inevitably newer OSs take more resources. So one of the things I see people getting burned by is like, we're going to upgrade our OS, even if it's like a Zen app or VDI, just our OS, and they aren't aware that in many cases going to a new OS requires more server resource, and so they're surprised by the new resource utilization. So what we've been saying is nowadays, and especially with supply chain constraints, we're talking on-prem, organizations need to be buying servers like ahead of time, almost in a scheduled basis, almost like Amazon subscribe your vitamins, you know, because applications and OSs take more resources. So even if you don't change and necessarily add users, you probably need more servers over time. So that's the first thing. That's a little bit more on-premise facing. The other is, I think Josh really hit on this too, of like knowing what you need and what works and doesn't work, because the cloud, you pay for consumption. So if you're overusing, you're overpaying. And that's probably the biggest thing we see. Well, you guys are freezing, so.
We can hear you fine then. We can hear
Okay,
you
good.
fine.
The video is freezing. Is not really knowing what the consumption will be and being surprised by the bill. It's really not so much, the first thing that comes to mind is not technical, it's more planning, having tools, and then not overspending through not knowing something.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that's the biggest thing I see.
Yeah, we do have a big use case, and I think we've got case studies on this, pretty sure, where Stratosphere can come in and tell you whether or not you're paying too much for your hosting based on the machines that have been in use, and then it makes recommendations. Are you on the right tier? And so you can scale that back accordingly. And then there's other people in that industry too, and partner that I think we all have talked to at some point in time. Nerdio is an emerging partner in that area for AVD, where they have dynamic scaling in place. They don't call it that. I'll think of the right term in a minute. But anyway, you look at AVD and say, gosh, that could be quite expensive if I'm subscribing to the use of all these Azure compute resources. But then Nerdio comes back in, they have this dynamic scaling in place where they can make it a no-brainer almost for you to at least try to, get a start or try some machines in that area.
And Nerdio is well named. They're very nerdy, and it's really cool stuff. And they really timed their self perfectly to add the right value to those migrations. Good stuff.
Yeah, they invited us to the Hawks game this week in Atlanta, so I felt like I should at least pay for my ticket by getting a short plug.
One item I'll add to your point, Steve, is when you, like, technology aside, but you're in that planning assessment phase, a common mistake that I see a lot is the eye is on the future deployment. So all of the testing and the efforts go towards that, but it's equally important to get a good understanding of what that current baseline is, right? Whether that's applications, that's performance, because that becomes then the benchmark for the comparative analysis as you move forward. A lot of times we see that step skipped over. So they basically, and if they're using tooling or software, automation software, they don't have a sense of what good is, right? If it's working, that's great, but let's get to the low level of that current baseline so we can build iteratively on top of that.
What's the puppy's name? What's the doggy's name?
Zeppelin.
Zeppelin.
Not a moose. It's not a moose. It's just a very large dog.
It's a boy. The name was that?
It's a boy.
That's great.
For 12 years. I didn't even realize he was in here.
Oh, wow. No, there's Liquidware Unplugged. Everybody wants to know who the dog is there. That's
That's
good. Kristen, you were coming back in for a moment. Do you see further follow-up or any comments from the audience? Please, audience, give us some more material to go on. Even anything you're thinking.
Right. I just wanted to let people know if you wanted to ask a question live, you can ask to be unmuted, or you can place a question in the chat or in the questions section, the Q&A section. We did have another one come in. How far in advance of a migration should I begin preparing?
That's a good question. We handle more migrations probably than centrally than anyone. I can tell you this, you can never be too far in advance to plan for your migration.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a migration that happens. So we've taken several customers through that. And you're saying that, Jason, because you guys are in the business. Yeah, I'm saying that. But this is why we've been in business and profitable since 2009 through present, because we have helped people and our customers through migration after migration after. When we first came into play, 2009, XP was still supported. And we were in that cut over to Windows 7. So now you know exactly where I'm going to, right? We went to 10 and people thought 10 was going to be the last OS. I've got headlines in my presentations that say that. And then we said, no, it's the last name. Then they eventually went to 11, but 10 had I lost count, 5 to 7 different profiles that would not work with, I think it was about 5, that wouldn't work with other versions of 10. So the difference between Windows 7 to 10 in any version in there and 10 to 10 was actually as bad as 7 to 10 at many times. And parts of it would work, parts of it wouldn't. But if you wanted it to reliably work every time a user logged on, no matter when you updated that, Profile Unity would remediate that at every logon. So my point is this: when you have the right solutions in place perpetually, and that's where I was talking about, Remo can help you with an onboarding, but they help you even more with a day-to-day upgrades of applications and so forth. And keeping someone like Steve on a retainer or as your main go-to person for your organization, and his knowledgeable organization is smart too, because you already have the next migration, and you should have that in mind. And you should be thinking, is there going to be a Windows 12 right now? You haven't even gone to 11, but you need to be thinking in those terms. And here's why: when our stack was in place, for our customers, we took them from the early ones, from XP to 7 to 10 to 11, and we've taken some of them to cloud and back from cloud to on-prem, and we've taken some of them from a dedicated cloud-based or on-prem desktop to a laptop, believe it or not, and we support many use cases in there. Can I go offline? Can I have my applications? So when you have an ongoing methodology planning for that next migration, it works like clockwork. And I've seen it happen now time and time again over the last almost 13 years for Liquidware and the customers that we have.
I just want to add, Jason, I love what you're saying, because we apply that to all levels of the stack. So we do that with storage as well. You know, like, you didn't always have these amazing tools, but things like VMware Storage Motion, it allows you to move across arrays. You know, there's a way to put in new storage and transparently move to it, you know, if you're virtualized. Like, so adopting things that allow you to be, I'll just say as a general term, portable, is really, really, really important. Is thinking like the way you're describing. How do I design it? How do I operate it so that I don't care when the OS comes out next or changes, or if we decide we're moving to AVD? You have ways of containerizing, making portable. It's an approach, and it pays off, because the more you do it, the better you get, and the less disruptive things are that inevitably will occur, because migrations will occur, OSs will occur, change of
Death
platform
and taxes. Death and taxes will occur.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I've got a W-2 or something right here where I'm working on my own lately, but that's, yeah, one thing you can count on. I think that was a subject I put on this tweet one time: 3 things you can count on: death, taxes, and migrations, because they're going to be cyclical.
Yeah.
But it's having the right things in place that you can go to, and it enables a hybrid approach. Because so the line of thinking when everyone went 7 to 10 or even XP to 7 was, I've got to have a date in mind to flip a switch, and everybody's going to be on 7 in my organization. That way of thinking, when you're thinking the way that we're talking about, of having solutions in place that enable in an anytime switch, you can say, you know what, call center is going to be an easy one. We'll light them up with Windows 11 first. They got 3 apps. That's all they need, or whatever. And they're on Citrix desktops. It'll be the easiest way to start with some Windows 11 or Server 22.
Mm-hmm.
And Then we'll start to do other parts of the organization. And just like Active Directory supports multiple OSs in most cases, and makes it easy for you to do those individual settings and groups and things like that that are recognized. Think about that as running your environment management and your digital workspace management. We did say adaptive workspace management for this reason, this slogan back here. But now we're calling it digital workspace. It means the same thing, digital workspace management. And you can light up this area or light up that area at any given time. And you don't have to be under that pressure. We got to flip the switch by a certain date. Other than your extended agreements, you might end up paying more.
I like your example of AD because it gives you the bridge, but you do want to get upgraded because then you can't enable certain features until, like, say, every domain controller is at a certain level, right? So that's a great analogy because it's a way to get there, but you don't want to then sit there. So I love that example because it takes the question, it is such a great response to the question, is you're always preparing for your migration. You don't start at some point. You know, if you take the AD example, I've upgraded 4 new controllers, but I've still got these, or they're running in some older mode. I got to keep going and get them all up to the latest. And once I get up to the latest, I don't stop there. I'm researching the next version of AD and finding out what the best practices are and deciding when to deploy it. You might want to be a leading edge person, or you might want to say, I'm going to wait, let it settle in. But you're kind of always doing it. And that's really hard because IT people today are way overworked and overstressed. They're expected to do crazy amounts of things. So I know it's not an answer you want to hear, but that's just the way it is today. And when you adopt tools that allow it, you actually make it easier. It's actually easier when you do that.
Indeed. Kristen came back on. Must have another statement or question.
I do have another question. Where do you see the biggest shift in how we perceive cloud AVD and applications in the next few years?
Applications was in there. Josh, want to take that one?
Would you mind repeating? How do you perceive the?
Sure. Where do you see the biggest shift in how we perceive cloud, AVD, and applications in the next few years?
Great question. I think as it relates to applications, just the continued with containerization and non-persistent type environments to be able to, right, just to complement those points that were previously said, just to be ready and agile for that next change, whatever that may be. Leveraging application layering technologies from Liquidware, whether it's MSIX adoption for app attach from AVD, just really having that on-demand application experience as the norm. Where I think it's gradually getting there, but there's always the on-premise, there's always the traditional deployment methods. That's where I personally see the shift.
With AVD, to complement that answer, great answer. I'll be honest with you, the majority of our customers are on Citrix and VMware. We have a ton of alliance partners that are great, but the bread and butter of this industry is still those two giants. And so I don't pretend. And Stephen, Josh, we had this discussion beforehand. We're talking about Windows 11. We're talking about AVD. Is anyone really there yet? So don't get any nervous anxiety that you're not there yet, because we don't even see our own customers there yet. But they're planning. That's the message there. We do have some customers that are running AVD. Back to the question that was just posed, in a departmental way. And the thing I proposed about call centers in my previous example goes there too. It's AVD organizations are looking at I might want to switch from a pure Citrix stack to Citrix with AVD, or just pure AVD. But I think I'm going to start with the easiest use case. And the easiest use case seems to be something that's repeatable. Could be my call center, for example, again. Or just a task worker that's doing a very specific thing on the shop floor or something like that, that is very predictable. You have a limited number of applications in there. Your base image is going to have, there's low risk to doing that. And then you still have a backup plan in place in case something doesn't work out. And that's where we see AVD getting some traction right now. And to be clear, that's where we saw VDI get traction in the late 2000s and around 2010, didn't we, Steve?
Oh yeah,
it's the same thing. It's just repeated now that we're up to a cloud way of delivery.
That's right. Very interesting. This is a great question. I think the biggest, I've heard so many things. I'm not sure I have the exact question, but it's kind of like the perception. I think what's going to happen in the next few years is that all of the cloud options will become part of the toolkit. Right now, we're still in the new shiny object phase, and management, you know, through vendor pressure and other things is kind of being pushed. Go to cloud, go to cloud, go to cloud, kind of for the sake of cloud, but we should be going to cloud for its benefits, which are many. And I think we'll calm down, and then we'll just be able to say that's part of the toolkit. We're also getting past the integration things. You know, we know how to peer VNet over, we know how to integrate AD and authentication and federate, and that's an important, identity really has to happen first, and that's happening. And so Microsoft's done a great job of, you know, if you're an enterprise, you can integrate with Azure AD, you can use Azure AD, your Office account can get you into other things. We're getting past that being new and obstacle. And now you can just choose. I think the example I threw up earlier was a good one. A company might be really established in its operating thing. They may even have leases and software agreements that are in place for another year, 2, 3, and they're not going to necessarily pick it up and move it, but they acquire a company. Bam, AVD right there. We bring up those desktops quick. Just like you said, when VDI was new, it solved all these problems. One of the first projects we ever did in VDI was, well, we actually had done a bunch, but we kind of created our own broker before there was an industry, but put that aside. The first like commercial product using an off-the-shelf VDI broker was when American Express went to go buy GE Money. It was a multi-billion-dollar deal, but they had no way to separate key assets because American Express competes with Visa and MasterCard, but they were buying someone that processes Visa and MasterCard. So this weird security thing, and it turned out that VDI was the answer, and it solved a huge problem, and we jumped on it. People weren't doing it yet; it was early, but look, it solved this huge business problem and enabled a multi-billion-dollar merger. So you get these early leading things, and I think we're well into that phase with cloud and desktop. Companies are leveraging it. They're finding that some use case gives them a great competitive benefit or a cost advantage, or increasingly it's cost avoidance, because when it's time for you to completely retool or leave your data center, I mean, that's pretty compelling to go to cloud. I mean, let's just face it. The other one that's really interesting is supply chain. I've got customers who are going to cloud because they can't get the servers they need. Who would have thunk?
Yeah, we've seen a good bit of that too, and we've seen a lot of our customer base wanting to know, can they repurpose PCs? And we usually get the call via iGel as well, because iGel's in that business of repurposing PCs. You don't have to have a powerful PC to get to Windows 11. Now you can think about cloud. I was thinking about moving to cloud anyway. I can't get new PCs readily because of the chip shortage and supply chain. How about this might be the time to think about that? So Stratosphere, we have built-in reports. The plug goes for there. We'll run a report for you for free. If you're thinking about how many machines can I just repurpose to a thin client-like device like Stratosphere running Edge OS, iGel. I'll also give Stratodesk a plug in there, and that is in a similar business, also an alliance partner. And so we have these built-in reports that can help quantify that and show you at a moment's notice. And if you need ROI information to roll that up, and if you have to think in terms of TCO, and we've seen every enterprise basically demand that since COVID started. Yep, we're going to make a change, but we've got to show this. We can show you that too. We can save this X by repurposing machines. We can also save this much by going to cloud, and we'll help you quantify it and quantify your plans no matter what they get. We like to say Stratosphere will help give you decision support for what you're about to do, and or lack of support it may give you too.
Well, I got to give you props there, Jason, because Stratosphere is an incredible tool, but also you've ported the agent, so it's on so many things. So you can go down to the endpoint. So I mean, you can be using iGel OS and have the Stratus client. So when you're managing things, so you take your example, you got a couple, maybe they have an aging data center, they've got to refresh their PCs, they can't get anything, and it's a huge capital expenditure if they could, and a huge effort. And now they can go to cloud, take the same PC, throw iGel OS on there, actually get better visibility because you got Stratus tools looking at the back end and the endpoint, and you get that thing where the customer's like, well, I can't work, you know, my connectivity is not working. you get down to the endpoint, you say, well, it's your Wi-Fi. It's
Yeah,
happening at your house.
Yep.
I mean, replace your router. I mean, in some ways, you actually upgrade your capabilities when you do that.
Yeah. Yeah. We heard you just fine. The funny thing was when you said it's your Wi-Fi, you froze for a little bit.
I did on purpose.
Yeah, no, that we do. We have those built-in agents for that purpose because you might not know what's going on that first. We're starting to call it the first mile. We used to call it the last mile, but no, that's the first mile. We're in the business that the actually end user is our customer. If they're not happy, nobody's going to be happy. So the first mile connectivity, we will correlate that with your Citrix or AVD or VMware Session or whatever, and give you a composite user experience metric. Thanks for that, Kristen. You got another comment?
Well, I do. Just as we've got a few minutes left, we had a question come in about what is your Super Bowl prediction? Is it the Bengals or the Rams?
I like the way you recap that because I'm thinking, who's playing the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be the biggest bet
Is it the underdog or the home team?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I wouldn't have thought I would have said the Rams, but I read something that I liked about the QB that put him in a good light with me. So I'm choosing the Rams.
I'm going to have to recuse myself because I have to admit that if I'm not busy designing and implementing systems, I'm here in the music studio and I don't even know who's playing or anything. So, I recuse myself on this case.
I think my answer differs whether I'm picking the spread outcome or the actual winner. So I probably think either or. I think, Cincinnati's going to give them a run, but if I had to pick a winner, I'd say the Rams.
All right.
That's a great
Very
question.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to the commercials and the food as well, the Super Bowl food.
I love that question. I love that question. Nature of Unplugged. It's get to know us too. It's we didn't get to do a lot of events, and while I talk about this, I want to ask you guys for parting thoughts in a moment. So think about how you'd sum up your thoughts today. But we haven't been able to do a lot of events, so I'll talk about that for a moment while these two are thinking about what they want to say. But we are going to be at HIMSS next month. It's a healthcare information management show. It's going to be in Orlando. So we're going to be in the iGel Ready booth. So we'll have a pod inside there. Citrix is going to be there as well. There's going to be, a dozen EUC Ready type vendors there out of that. So if you're going to that, we'll see you there. I hope. We'd be glad to meet with you there. We've heard there's not going to be a Citrix Synergy yet again this year, either due to company changes or COVID changes. We missed sales kickoff, but we are doing several CUGCs, and we're starting to do those both in person occasionally, and we are doing those virtually. I'll be presenting at a VMUG soon. Kristen and I are going to record my part for that, but we're getting out there as much as we can. Kristen's helping us launch a Liquidware Live set of events. So we're going to start doing things regionally. Kristen, you want to come back on for a minute off the top of your head, tell them a couple of the venues we're thinking there that you're already planning?
Sure, yeah, we're coming up in Atlanta. We're going to be for a Braves game. There's going to be a Boston Red Sox game, and then other regional events that we're looking into, starting this spring. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to getting out there. If we can't go to shows, we'll make our own events, and that's what we're doing to do those. And they're keep an eye on us because we'll tell you via social media where they're going to be across mainly at first North America, and we'll also do it in parts of Europe as well. So thanks, Kristen. Back to today's roundup. Parting thoughts, Steve?
Well, I would just want to encourage people to really take on this idea. It came up early. It was a recurring theme of always be migrating, always be planning, and always looking at technology that keeps you independent from being locked in, whether it's cloud, OS, none of that matters. Just be able to run your organization in such a way that you can be more nimble and you can move and change as you need to. Don't get too bogged down. And on a slightly more personal note, I also just want to recognize what you're saying, that we've also been involved in all kinds of events normally, and COVID's been devastating from that point of view. And the event that I run, a small EUC focused conference in April, we had to reschedule twice, so it's been 2 years since we had it. My family has a very vulnerable person, my wife's mom. We've had to be super careful through COVID. I really feel good about this as the time to come out, because the time of year here in Scottsdale, we're going to hold most of our events outdoors. We're going to be very COVID safe. and I know that it's been really, really tough for people. So I just want to, give everybody encouragement to hang in there. Look for when we can start getting back to the old ways and seeing each other. And thank you guys for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I found my tribe here today with the Unplugged crowd.
Thanks, Steve. You'll definitely be back. We appreciate you coming on. Josh, parting thoughts?
I'll just piggyback on top of Steve's with, always keeping the eye on being ready for migration at any time, right? You can never plan, measure twice, cut once, and, just leverage automation where need be, right? There's a lot of great tooling out there, not only to keep your eye on what's tomorrow, but to keep the lights on for today as well, and making sure that, you're supporting the rate at which that daily operational change is coming at all of us. And likewise, I'd like to thank everyone for their time.
Thanks. Would you wrap us up a minute? Kristen, that sounds good. But my parting thoughts is thank you, Josh, for coming on as well. And Remo 3 is a new alliance partner for us. But there's a cast of characters over there that is well known in the industry, including Josh coming out of Citrix beforehand and already been with Remo 3 for a while. And we appreciate the alliance partnership that we have with you, and really an emerging new strengthened partnership with Steve as being an integrated partner out there and being very knowledgeable on our solutions. Thank you again. I'll put today's topic in terms of this. I'll restate, don't feel angst if you're not ready to go to Windows 11 or if you're not there yet. Part of the reason why we scheduled today's webinar and we do these topics is because you should always be forward thinking of technologies like AVD, Windows 365. Don't feel any angst that your organization is not going there yet. And like Steve and Josh reiterated, it is a journey getting there, and you should think about it that you should have the right plan in place, I will say first off, and the right solutions in place from companies like Liquidware, Remo 3, and advice from organizations like Steve's for just ongoing migrations and ongoing user management to make sure you're delivering the best digital workspace that you can. So with that, Kristen, you wanna wrap us up?
Sure, thank you. Okay, so you'll see here on the screen that we have resources here. So thank you for attending today. Thank you to all of our panelists. And feel free to tag us on social media. We also have our community site, which is community.liquidware.com. And these are our social media handles here. And if you have any questions or ideas for future webinar topics, feel free to email us at unplugged@liquidware.com. Again, unplugged@liquidware.com. And keep an eye out in your email for a link to the recording if you want to view this again or share this with a colleague. Thanks very much for joining, everyone.
Yeah, Kristen, thanks so much. I want to give you a personal thank you. Kristen joined the team now just a month and a half ago, and a great addition to the Liquidware team. This is the first public appearance she's had, and I don't think any of us could tell. It went so smoothly, and she's a great host.
I had no idea. I thought you were doing this for years and years, Chris. That was awesome. Great host.
So publicly welcome aboard. Yep, we appreciate it. And thanks to all the attendees. You can go to our websites and learn more information on all of us, as Kristen said. And as Steve had reiterated, I didn't mean to minimize anything about the pandemic. We've had friends suffer. I got another dose of natural antibodies last month myself and doing well out of that. So stay safe, everyone. We appreciate it. And join us for the next Unplugged soon.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, thanks.